Welcome back to Music Kingdom. Due to such high demand in our comments, I am very excited to introduce myself to and educate myself on a band that I've always meant to explore, especially since I've always listened to similar artists and bands from that same time period, but with this band in particular, I've just never really dipped my toes into their work. And so in this video, we will be listening to, giving a music theory breakdown for, and blindly reviewing Tom Sawyer by Rush. Hang tight. Hey everyone, my name is Francis. If you are a fellow nerd for music such as myself and you appreciate not just reactions but reviews and analysis of songs, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you'd like to support the work I put into these videos, you'll find Music Kingdom's Patreon and other affiliate links in the description below. Alright, now before we give the song a listen, first let's briefly talk Tom Sawyer by Rush. Tom Sawyer is from the 8th studio album by Rush titled Moving Pictures, released in 1981. To my knowledge, around this time, Rush continued to write songs with a more radio-friendly sound, featuring tighter and shorter song structures compared to their earlier albums. The album Moving Pictures received a positive reception from critics and became an instant commercial success, reaching #1 in Canada and #3 in both the United States and the United Kingdom. To this day, it remains Rush's highest-selling album in the United States, with over 5 million copies sold. To my knowledge as well, the song Tom Sawyer was written by the 3 members of the band Rush in collaboration with lyricist Pi Dubois of the band Max Webster. Drummer Neil Peart was presented with a poem by Dubois named Louis the Lawyer that he modified and expanded, then with Lee and Lifeson helping set the poem to music. The original lyrics were kind of a portrait of a modern-day rebel, a free-spirited individualist striding through the world wide-eyed and purposeful. I added the themes of reconciling the boy and man in myself and the difference between what people are and what others perceive them to be, namely me, I guess. And regarding his solo, Alex Lifeson, the guitarist, had this to say: "I winged it, honest. I came in, did 5 takes, then went off and had a cigarette. I'm at my best for the first 2 takes. After that, I overthink everything and lose the spark. Actually, the solo you hear is composed together from various takes." Now, with that all out of the way, I'm going to give a couple quick disclaimers about the song, but feel free to skip ahead using the timestamps. Disclaimer number 1, I would like to acknowledge 100% this is by no means a deep cut by Rush. In fact, to my knowledge, this is perhaps the most popular song they ever made. And with my subjective personal favorite decade of music being the 1970s, regardless of genre, you'd think that I'd want to start there regarding the work of Rush. I was actually considering reviewing the song 2112, but then I heard it was over 20 minutes, and just so you know, a 5 to 8 minute song, for example, on this channel is still gonna be roughly a 20-25 minute video. So if I did a 20-minute song, chances are you guys would be watching this video for like over 40 minutes. But if you'd like me to review it at some point, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, yeah, regarding dipping my toes into Rush's body of work, my logic is I'll just start with the popular hits, if you will, and then gradually work my way into the deep cuts. And to any of you watching this video who happen to be big fans of the band Rush, drop any recommendations for songs or albums in the comments down below. Disclaimer number 2, on this channel we start with studio versions of songs. And I say that because I have gotten a lot of recommendations to check out live renditions of songs by Rush, but I'm someone who prefers to familiarize myself with the studio version first so that then I can go and watch it live and appreciate the differences. Alright, at long last, it's time we give the song a listen, and just a heads up, I will be pausing to give my thoughts, but ultimately just to avoid any copyright strikes. And as always, be sure to stick around after the song for a music theory breakdown from our expert, and then we're going to divide the song into specific categories, grading them each, averaging them out, and arriving at an overall score.
A Monday warrior, mean stride. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
That immediately reminded me of Pour Some Sugar on Me. Great intro. Love the drumming. It's very well mixed and produced as well. And I remember hearing that a lot of their work is inspired by Zeppelin. Kind of feel that. And obviously very well written lyrics, which I've been led to believe is Rush's thing. I like the production, the sound effects. Thoughts so far, in my opinion, it absolutely sounds of its time, but not necessarily in a bad way. I'm also glad that I knew beforehand to pay attention to the lyrics, knowing that they're very well written. Not that I otherwise would not have listened to the lyrics, but the rest of the song is just such an aesthetic, such an atmosphere, such an adventure to some extent, that it's so easy to get lost in all of that, but then you miss out on the lyrics. All in all, I really am digging this song, and I do remember hearing that they pulled a lot of inspiration from Zeppelin, which you can absolutely hear. However, I would add, I'm hearing a lot more of Genesis in this song than I do hear Zeppelin, aside from perhaps the vocal styles. Excited to hear where it goes.
Today's Tom Sawyer, he gets high on you, and the space he invades, he gets by on you.
Oh, that's real nice. Love this. Oh. Was not expecting this. The instrumentation's amazing. Oh my god. This drumming is insane.
No, his mind is not forever.
Oh, that was such a smooth transition.
Always hopeful yet discontent. Those changes aren't permanent. Oh, changes.
At this point, I really am appreciating the lyrics even more, really tuning my ears into just how well written they are, and to some extent, how relatable they are. But then you've got this amazing production and instrumentation and solid composition. Vocally speaking, I like their sound, however, it's not necessarily my cup of tea. I can still acknowledge that it's well done and fun to listen to. Oh my god. When I picked one of their more popular hits, I wasn't expecting this level of complexity. I thought it'd be much more radio friendly. Which it still is. Which is a hard balance to have. Very well done.
The world is love and life are deep. Maybe as his eyes are wide. Exit
They keep you engaged as well.
So he gets high on you, and the energy is betrayed. He gets right on to the friction of the day.
Love that. I like that it's a bit abstract without being too abstract where it takes you out of it. And a good old-fashioned fade out. I love a good fade out in music. That was very nice. Not what I expected. Alright, initial thoughts before we go to the expert's corner and then begin grading the song. As mentioned, not quite what I was expecting. Have I heard about the band Rush? Absolutely. As mentioned, I've heard that they pulled inspiration from Zeppelin. I've heard that their contemporaries at the time were bands like Genesis and others. I've heard that they are known for brilliant prog rock and a multitude of other genres and styles as well, with a career spanning several decades. So I guess it's fair to say I wasn't even quite sure what to expect outside of something that sounded like prog rock. But I think with it being such a popular hit, with it being such a staple of their catalog, and definitely being so mainstream and listener friendly, I suppose I could have expected something a bit more simple, maybe a bit more catchy, not necessarily generic, but when you hear about a prog rock band that has a radio hit, you kind of expect something more like that. Which to some extent it was, do not get me wrong, but it had so much more complexity than I was expecting. The production was much more playful than I was expecting. The vocals were much more 80s rock than I was expecting. And lyrically speaking, I'm glad I tuned into them, because with the vocal style they have and the music style they have that gets you lost in the sauce, it would otherwise be very easy to kind of tune out the vocals or the lyrics of the song, perhaps unintentionally. So staying in tune with those absolutely added to the experience as well. Now, knowing what I know about the band, and honestly knowing what I know about music, especially music in the 1970s, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that despite the song's popularity, perhaps it's not a very accurate introduction to the band. Because I would imagine with this song not only being from 1981, but also having a 4+ minute duration, that their prior work in the 1970s was probably mind-blowing. So again, any song and album recommendations are more than welcome in the comments below. As always, I have more specific thoughts regarding the song, some good thoughts, some bad thoughts, which I'll get to when I break apart the song into categories, grading them each, arriving at an overall score. But first, let's go to the expert's corner for a music theory breakdown and to see how he grades the song's composition.
Welcome to the Experts Corner. This is Tom Sawyer by Rush, and I am here to give it a composition score. This song is primarily in the time signature of 4/4, and it's in the key of what I would say is E minor. Now, the song is mostly power chords, not a lot of triads. However, I still would say E minor because of the main riff, which is kind of an E power chord over this low melody. So when they hit this, that is the minor third of E minor. So there we go. So I've listened to this song a few times now, and compositionally it's not the most incredibly intricate thing I've ever heard. As I said before, it's a lot of power chords, which isn't in itself a bad thing, but when I'm grading composition, I do have to be objective. I can't change my standards just because of the genre I'm in. So at its core, it's not a very high scoring song compositionally, but it has two saving graces, two things that I am a sucker for, two things that this song has. One of them is incredible drumming. There's one part halfway, maybe a little closer to the end, that I rewound like 5 times just to hear those drums. I don't know if any of you know what I'm talking about, but he's going on the ride. It's just kind of like ding, 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 ding. I don't know. It's not easy to look cool miming a complex drum part. But yeah, the drumming is definitely part of the craftsmanship of the composition of the song, so I count that and I give points for it. Lastly, I am a huge sucker for the time signature of 7/8. I always tell people that 7/8 is my favorite time signature. Why do I go around just telling people 7/8 is my favorite time signature? But I do. And yes, this song has several sections where it switches from 4/4 to 7/8, primarily the bit that goes like this. I don't know, there's just something about a 7/8 groove that's just infectious to me, and I could listen to it over and over and over. So while the composition of this song is pretty simple overall, the rhythmic aspect of it was crafted beautifully. And that's a big plus for me. So I'm going to give this song a 7 out of 10. Back to you, Francis.
A very special thank you to our expert for providing a music theory breakdown and giving the song's composition a respectable 7 out of 10. And now it's time to divide the song into 4 more categories, grading them each, averaging them out, and arriving at an overall score. Starting out with the category of production specifically, I'm inclined to give it a very solid 8 out of 10. Now, are genres like hard rock, prog rock, or even metal going to have elaborate productions? No, and that's okay. Most of the time they are going to be more simple and practical so that it can be replicated live on stage. However, in this song specifically, there is more of a production than I was expecting. In addition to how well the song is mixed and the amazing instrumentation decisions as well. Otherwise, is the production mostly that early 80s synth? Yes, but not in a bad way whatsoever. As mentioned earlier, it really gives a great atmosphere and aesthetic to the song, and then as the listener, you're almost transported into this world for this journey and adventure of a song. Very well done in my opinion, especially those transitions, which I guess technically are more composition, but just the way the various instruments work together in this song, in my opinion, is absolutely production. Moving on to the category of lyrics, I'm inclined to give them a very rare 9 out of 10. Again, while I heard that the writing process for this song was very in-depth, I guess I thought that with it still being prog rock, that even still the lyrics wouldn't be that good, and I was wrong. Now, are they some of the most brilliantly penned lyrics of any song ever, of any genre ever? No, but I would say they're damn close. Just kind of tucked away and almost hiding behind an otherwise amazing production and solid composition. The themes of individualism, the themes of philosophy, the themes of contemplating, so on and so forth, written in such a way that isn't necessarily on the nose or over the top or forced, leaving a healthy amount to the listener to interpret themselves, as all great art should. Extremely well-written lyrics, in my opinion. Keeping it moving, up next we have the category of vocals. Coming back down to earth a bit for these, I'm inclined to give them a very respectable 7 out of 10, which in my opinion numerically I suppose represents good, but not great. Now I want to make it clear this is my introduction to the band Rush. That means I have not listened to the plethora of work that they have otherwise. Songs in which I am most sure have some amazing vocal deliveries. I just simply feel this song specifically wasn't that earth-shattering, which is okay. This song is more about the lyrics. The song is more about the experience. So it's not like I'm holding that against the song in some super negative way. I'm just acknowledging that the song really isn't about the vocals. They aren't the star of the show. Still good though, still solid, and as mentioned, very respectable. All right, arriving at our final category of originality, I'm inclined to give this song's originality a very strong 8 out of 10. I'll just put it this way. In today's music industry, if a radio hit came out, more often than not, I would give that originality probably somewhere between a 3, a 4, or a 5. And then of course, if I was grading a song like 2112, which I have never heard before, but I would assume with it being over 20 minutes, it would probably get a score of a 9 or even a 10. Then in my opinion, a song like this makes sense landing somewhere around an 8 out of 10, which I would consider great, especially for a song that is kind of fit for the radio. Especially nowadays with more easily accessible songs really lacking in originality. So with a song like this, whether we're talking about the very well-written lyrics, the very strong production, the solid composition, all fit within what, 4.5 minutes, to me shows amazing originality, creativity, artistry, and evidently, historically, especially factoring in its reputation, this song has stood the test of time for listeners. In my opinion, you can't really do that without creating an original song, which is why I feel it's deserving of an 8 out of 10. So now if we add it all up, including the expert's composition score, and average it out, Tom Sawyer by Rush from their 8th studio album titled Moving Pictures, released in 1981, gets a very respectable 7.8 out of 10. When looking at a score of a 7.8, I would call that very good, just not quite great, which I feel like is probably going to piss off a lot of you watching this video, especially with how beloved this song is and its reputation. But in my defense, fresh ears, the expert's corner, really dissecting the song and breaking it down lightheartedly, of course, I would say a 7.8 is accurate and fair. But of course, what do I know? You guys are the fans of Rush, so let me know in the comments down below whether or not you agree. Am I right on the money? Am I batshit crazy? Am I somewhere in between? As well as other recommendations for songs or albums by Rush or anybody else that you'd like for this channel to review next. As mentioned, if you are a nerd for music such as myself, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you'd like to support the work I put into these videos, you'll find Music Kingdom's Patreon and other affiliate links in the description below. This has been another edition of Music Kingdom. Thank you so much for listening with me, and I'll look forward to jamming with you in the next one.